Hi, Trustee Senior. We're getting ready to start the board meeting.
Okay, I'm ready.
We can tell.
You want to place your phone on mute? Oh, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I would like to call our regular board meeting to order at 7:32. We're located in the Village Chambers, 2350 South 25th Avenue. Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, we can, Madam President. Trustee Abraham.
Here.
Trustee Chalmalave.
Here.
Trustee Senior.
Here.
Mayor Thompson.
Here.
Trustee Shelby.
Here.
Trustee Armour is absent. Trustee Miller, absent. Madam President, we do have a quorum. Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag I will now read the Pledge of Civility. In the interest of civility, I pledge to promote civility by listening, being respectful of others, acknowledging that we are all striving to support and improve our community, and understand that we each may have different ideas for achieving that objective. Now, may I ask for a moment of silence? Thank you. At this time, I'd like to have a motion to allow Trustee Senior to participate electronically due to work.
I'd like to make a motion to allow that.
I second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Abraham, seconded by Trustee Chamalave, to allow Trustee Senior to participate electronically. I'll take a roll call. Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chamalave.
Yes.
Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustees Armour and Miller are absent. Madam President, this carries 4-0 to allow Trustee Senior to participate electronically. Next, item 2, public comment.
Thank you. We have one public comment, but the form is not completed completely. But I am going to allow this comment to take place tonight. Ms. Dempsey?
Everyone.
Good
evening. I just have one comment. I was just asking about the warrant list. I know that my wonderful trustee always read it out, but is there possible that, because it used to be, we used to have a copy, with the agenda. We're just asking if we can have a copy with the agenda to follow up, and that's it.
Okay, thank you. Mr.
Okay,
Clerk?
that concludes public comments. Item 3, communications. Bear with me because I do have a few. I'm going to start off with my favorite one. Tomorrow is Election Day. And if you are registered to vote, the polls do open in Broadview at 6 a.m. and the polls close at 7 p.m. If you aren't registered and are of age, meaning that you will be age 18 by the general election in November, even if you're 17 tomorrow, you can still register to vote on election day tomorrow for the primary. Once you register, you can vote that day. Just make sure you bring in proper identification. And remember, this is your chance to let your voice be heard. Come out and vote. Next, Heart and Soil Project Broadview. Receive 2 boxes of fresh, high-quality produce free each month. Science-based nutrition education, including recipes, sharing, and cooking demos. This happens right here at Village Hall every second and fourth Friday from 1 to 3 p.m. Contact us for more information, 708-559-3286. Next, learn the basics of Medicare. Making sure you get the most from your Medicare plan is crucial, and we can help. Broadview Family Restaurant, Wednesday, March 20th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. This is sponsored by Oak Street Health. You can RSVP today by calling 708-540-7570 And again, the Broadview Family Restaurant is located at 2417 Roosevelt Road. Next, tutus and bow ties. All Broadview young princesses and princes ages 5 to 9 are invited to join Mayor Katrina Thompson for her annual tutus and bow ties party. This is a super sweet party happening Saturday, April 20th, 2024 from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. They'll be serving mocktails by Splash, and this is going to be over at the Schroeder Park Fieldhouse, 2600 South 13th Avenue. You must RSVP by April 6th to participate. Contact Lily at 708-681-3600, extension 259. Next, Drive-By Community Shred Day. This is happening on Saturday, May 4th, 9 a.m. to noon, right here at Village Hall, 2350 South 25th Avenue. Bring your bags and boxes of paper to be shredded, and they'll be done in minutes on site. This is sponsored by Mayor Katrina Thompson and SBC Waste Solutions. Lastly, join Mayor Katrina Thompson on her first Walk with the Mayor this year on May 25th at 9 a.m. and then every Saturday thereafter, weather permitting. Every Saturday, they will be walking to meeting a location at 14th Street and 17th Avenue, right at the light. Again, that's 14th Street and 17th Avenue at the light, 9 a.m. And that concludes communications for today. Next, item 4, consideration to approve the following minutes. Minutes from the February 5th, 2024 regular board meeting. These were tabled from the last meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Shelby, seconded by Trustee Abraham. Madam President.
Thank you, Trustee Abraham. Do you have any questions or comments?
No, none.
Trustee Chalmalave?
I do not.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Roll call. Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chalmalave.
Yes.
Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustees Armour and Miller are absent. Madam President, this carries 4-0. Thank you. Next, minutes from the March 4th, 2024 regular board meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Abraham, seconded by Trustee Shelby. Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Trustee Abraham, you have any questions or comments?
No, none.
Trustee Chalmalave?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Roll call. Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chalmalave.
Yes.
Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustees Armour and Miller are absent. Madam President, this carries 4-0. Thank you all. Next, item 5, consideration to approve expenditures. Grand total of all funds, $338,673.53 for the period ending March 14th, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Abraham, seconded by Trustee Senior. Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Trustee Shelby, Finance Chairwoman of the Finance Committee, will you please read the warrant list?
Yes, Mayor. Okay, the vendors are Admin Consulting Specialists Incorporated, $4,500. AT&T in the amount of $4,239.66. B&F Construction Code Services Incorporated in the amount of $7,750. Baker Tilly US LLP in the amount of $56,342. Cristofano Equipment Company Incorporated, $5,889.69. Dearborn Life Insurance Company in the amount of $2,941. Edwin Hancock Engineering Company in the amount of $38,237. First Fence in the amount of $4,370. Geno's Heating and Plumbing Incorporated in the amount of $20,998.25. Heritage Broadview LLC in the amount of $101,647.91. Losis in the amount of $6,432. Russo's Power Equipment Incorporated in the amount of $13,980.01. Serve Pro of LaGrange Park, North Riverside, in the amount of $9,238.90. Shooting Star Ventures LLC in the amount of $4,555. South Central Capital Group LLC in the amount of $3,125. Tier Point LLC in the amount of $4,943.79, and West Cook Solid Waste Agency in the amount of $13,012.64. And the total of expenditures over $2,500 came to $302,202.85, which is 89% of our total expenditures in the amount of $338,673.53. We had a manual payment, and the vendor was Apple Chevrolet of Tinley Park. The date was March the 5th, 2024. The check number 85943 in the amount of $68,370.53. We also had an electronic payment, and the vendor was Chase Credit Card, and the payments reflecting as of February the 25th, 2024, in the amount of $7,847.30. The following accounts were affected by these expenditures. We have the general fund account in the amount of $175,578.02. The garbage fund in the amount of $13,012.64. The motor fuel tax fund in the amount of $560.88. The CDBG fund in the amount of $12,275. The Roosevelt Road TIF fund in the amount of $4,780. The 19th Street TIF in the amount of $101,647.91. And the Capital Projects Fund in the amount of $750, and the Water and Sewage Fund in the amount of $30,069.08, again for a grand total of $338,673.53. And Madam Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Shelby. Trustee Abraham, you have any questions or comments? Trustee Chalmalave?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, we can, Madam President. Trustee Abraham,
Yes.
Trustee Chalmalave,
Yes.
Trustee Senior,
Yes.
Trustee Shelby,
Yes.
Trustees Armour and Miller are absent. Madam President, this carries 4-0. Thank you all. Next, item 6, application for the authority to expend funds in the amount of $23,758. This is for the purchase order for Train Technologies for the Fire Department.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Shelby, seconded by Trustee Abraham. Madam President.
Thank you. Chief Bryan, will you tell us about this purchase order, please?
Good evening, Mayor, village officials, residents, and guests.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is actually an approved and budgeted capital repair that we've actually been doing in phases. We actually began in September 23, which is towards the enhancement and making our fire department more energy efficient. This actual repair that we're going to be doing coming up is they're replacing 7 HVAC units, which are damper units. They're currently remaining stuck open, which is not allowing for the circulation of fresh air. So that's 7 units that's going to be replaced, and that's going to reduce our heating and cooling expenses.
Thank you, Chief. Trustee Abraham, you have any questions?
No questions.
Trustee Chalmalave? No questions. Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, we can, Madam President. Trustee Abraham,
Yes.
Trustee Chalmalave,
Yes.
Trustee Senior,
Yes.
Trustee Shelby,
Yes.
Trustees Armour and Miller are absent. Madam President, this carries 4-0. Thank you all.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you,
Next is
Chief.
item 7, village officer reports, which are given at each second meeting of the month, starting with our building department, Commissioner David Upshaw.
Good evening, Mayor, Board,
Good evening.
Good evening.
and everyone in attendance. The monthly report for February 2024 is as follows. We have the report that is placed on file in the mayor's office as well as the clerk's office. The highlights are Housing Forward, which is located at 1014 through 1020 Roosevelt Road. That project is almost completed, and I know that they will be having a ribbon-cutting ceremony within the next month or so. Iron Workers, Local 63, located at 2525 Lexington. They have a beautiful training center. You can see it from the Eisenhower Expressway. That project is underway, and that should be completed within the next 60 to 90 days. And they also will be having a ribbon cutting. Chick-fil-A, that's right, Chick-fil-A, 3300 Village Square. They have submitted plans, and they're currently under review, and they're going to start demo within the next 30 to 45 days. Vanny Foods, located 2759 South 25th. They are building a beautiful addition, and that project is currently underway. You can actually see it from right here, from the Village Hall. And then Uncle Remus, which is located at 1801 Roosevelt Road. They are doing some major renovations, and that project is underway as well. Mayor, at this time, I entertain any questions that the board may have.
Thank you. Trustee Abraham, you have any questions or comments?
Just one comment regarding Vanny Foods. Unbelievable. I walked over there the other day, and amazing how fast it went up and just how beautiful it looks. So definitely fits in. So, it's our footprint.
Thank you. Trustee Chalmalabi?
Do we know when Uncle Remus is going to open?
I don't, trustee, but I can find out for you.
No more questions.
That's it. Trustee Shelby? Trustee Senior?
No question.
Commissioner Upshaw, before you leave the podium, Housing Forward ribbon cutting ceremony will be on April 25th. So as soon as they get us the marketing information, we will invite the community to celebrate with them. This is a 16-unit supportive housing complex that's right on 10th and Roosevelt Road. So we really, really are excited with that. We created housing in the Village of Broadview. We just did a couple of years ago the 72-unit senior housing development, now this one, and then we have conversations going on about the vacant lot that we have on 13th and 14th to make that a mixed-use development project for the Village of Broadview. So I want to give kudos to the building department because it's a lot of hard work that goes into these projects. As it's not just the project, but it's all of the other things that we have to do to make sure that the land is environmental safe, the permits are pulled, and we're holding people accountable because it's only what's best for Broadview. So thank you, Commissioner Upshaw.
Thank you, Mayor, Board, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next is the Finance Department, Finance Director Tom Hood.
Good evening, trustees, Madam Mayor.
Good evening.
The finance report is on file with the mayor and the clerk's office, and hopefully you've all gotten a copy. I just wanted to hit a couple highlights, and then I'll ask you guys if you have any questions. I guess the first thing to look at is page 2, with 83% of our time being used for the year. We've got 77% of revenues collected. During the same time, we've used about 72% of the expenses that we had budgeted. So we're actually a little bit behind in revenue collection, but we're also not expending money as quickly. And I'm going to tell you the main cause of that is there's still a lot of outstanding property taxes, which I expect to flow into our accounts in March and April. And a lot of that is pension related. It will affect both the revenues and expenses and drive both of those up as that money is collected. The other thing that I wanted to point out for those of you who had looked at this, and I don't want you to get too excited. On page 11 and 11, I put in here the difference between the revenues and expenses for the year to date. Right now, we're running a $2.2 million surplus. But I want to remind you that we also have in our budget a $1.2 73525 transfer from the general fund to other funds to cover expenses. So the surplus I have today, even though on paper it's showing 2.2, after those transfers, it will only be 987,000 surplus, with a lot of tax money coming in, hopefully. Were there any individual comments or questions on the report?
Trustee Abraham, you have any questions or comments?
None.
Trustee Chalmalave?
No question.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Shelby? I have one comment, Director Hood.
Sure.
So as we go through this process and we looking at our budget and how we look at percentages and revenue coming in and expenditures that we expend out, we've been very transparent of how we handling the village funds. So I want to say thank you to the finance team, because even though as we go through our financial audits and going through these budget years, sometimes it's very challenging on where revenue is actually coming in, but a bulk of our revenue is coming in from sales tax. And so we've been very fortunate to be able to see that type of revenue of people actually shopping in the Village of Broadview and shopping online, which is driving costs up for us, which is good for all of us that live in Broadview. So that's exciting. Last week, we held a finance committee meeting just to prepare the community on what the next budget is going to look like. And so as we go through our budget conversations, we are very transparent and upfront as it relates to how we spend money in the Village of Broadview. So the next finance committee meeting will be on April 10th. We will go into very detail of the budget at that time, because we need to prepare to pass a budget for May 1 so that we are functioning like a municipality is supposed to function. So it's open to the public. You can have questions and comments at that time, but we'll have a couple of finance committees as we go through these budget conversations so that it's understood of what's taking place as it relates to the budget and how we look at fiscal year 24 and 25. So thank you, Director Hood.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Next, we'll have the Fire Department. Chief Derek Bryant.
Once again, good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
My report is on file in the mayor's and the clerk's office. February 2024 responded to 235 incidents. That's a 8% increase from what we did in February of 2023. Our hospital contracts billing is as followed. For our ambulance transports, they were $37,154,000 for total. For our fire suppression, that's $39,527. We hired a new administrative assistant. She brings more than 20 years of experience to the Village of Broadview, and she is also bilingual. I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you. Trustee Abraham, you have any questions or comments?
No questions.
Trustee Chalmalave?
Fortunately, I haven't been here the last few meetings, so how is Broadview treating you? How do you,
It's been an awesome experience so far.
yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you expect anything less, Trustee?
No, but since he's on the podium, I figure I'd ask.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
I don't have anything. Thank you, Chief Bryant.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next, we'll have the Police Department, Chief Thomas Mills.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees, residents, all in attendance.
Good evening.
As well as my February 2024 monthly report is on file with the mayor and the clerk's office for your review. Few small things to just speak on. For the month of February, we had a 22% increase in calls from the previous month, and that's expected because the weather started to make the change. And again, we had a very, I don't want to say it, but we had a really good February in terms of weather. So we had a lot of people out. Just because it has an increase in calls for service definitely does not mean we have an increase in crime. So don't get it confused, and just the calls that's coming into our Ike Center. And that increase also happened between the same 11% increase for the calls for service of both Maywood and Broadview. So it's the communities that we assist. And if you were not aware, we do a lot of mutual aid with Westchester, Maywood, Bellwood, things like that. So, our officers respond to a lot of calls outside of our town, as well as we receive the assistance from those towns as well. So, it's a really good program. Well, not program, but the mutual aid that we all work together. Our Brand of Communications is a company that provides maintenance on our tornado sirens. So they were here in February. So our 2 tornado sirens have been updated and is in working order. Other than that, so that's all I really have at this time.
Thank you,
Entertain
Chief.
any
Trustee
questions?
Abraham, you have any questions or comments?
None.
Trustee Chamalave?
Just one question. It looks like for February, the numbers went down, which is good, except for the retail theft. Is that any particular?
Well, I touched on this at a previous meeting. The problems we're having with retail theft, and if you've been kind of following the political landscape with the Cook County State Attorney's Office, and it's really the prosecution. But I would just touch on a lot of our stores, like Walgreens, Target, for liability purposes, and the cost that the amount it costs to prosecute a case, they're choosing not to prosecute. So they are making the reports, and by law, it's our responsibility that we must respond and give them the report. But then when it comes to the prosecution part of it, they are not willing to sign complaints. So unfortunately, our numbers reflect that here, but I would just highlight a case that our Detective Brandy Johnson, Walgreens had an incident where one of their employees was stealing from the store. Now, they prosecuting that one. And it's funny because she just got an arrest warrant approved by the judge because this employee took a lot of money from the store by not ringing. So she did a phenomenal job in tracking the evidence, watching all this video, the whole 9 yards. She had numerous arguments with the state's attorney's office about that because they normally just will not give arrest warrants. But they did with her outstanding work. So the arrest warrant was approved today by a judge out of the 4th District. It's in the system now, so she'll be in custody. But my point is, they're prosecuting that one, but not the retail thefts. But retail thefts are not violent crimes. Those people go in, they take what they want, they just kind of leave, so.
Any other questions? Thank you. Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
So, thank you, Chief. Before you leave the podium, I will say this. From my lenses, I think the Broadview Police do a really good job of making sure that we're safe. They are responsive. They show up when we need them to show up, and some things we just cannot control, like people going into stores stealing. So that's the only crime we really have in Broadview. When I look at the numbers for January and February, we had 0 homicides. Criminal assaults, we had 0. Robbery, we had 0. In February, we had 1 aggravated battery, and I'm sure that was something that was a domestic. Theft, we had 19. We had 1 vehicle theft, and we had no arson. So when you look at the crimes of the high level, and we get these reports from the Cook County State's Attorney, we get them every month to tell us where we are. All municipalities get this data. And we have to commend our Broadview Police Department for doing a really good job for us. So we appreciate that, Chief.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
And if I could, I just want to, thank the residents and my colleagues in the other departments because this village works so well together. We, when I start off the meeting with calls for service, this is people calling in telling us things are not looking right. I tell everyone, if you don't call us, we don't know. Like the mayor, some officers are out here. They love rolling to these jobs. They go there and they do a great job. But again, we appreciate the call for service, the collaborative effort of the village, the residents, as well as the building department. Public Works, when they're out there, if they see something, the mayor's office, we take the calls all the time and we love it because that's what we need. We can't see everything all the time. And it's a collaborative effort.
It
Man.
is.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Trustees
Chief.
as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next, we'll have the Public Works Department, and then Director Matt Ames-Stead. We have Foreman Jeff.
Good evening, Mayor and trustees.
Good evening.
For those who don't know me, my name is Jeff Glenn, Department Foreman, Public Works. The report is already on file in the mayor's office and the clerk's office. I want to touch bases on a few things in Public Works. We've had 4 emergency water main breaks in the month of February, 2 emergency fire hydrant replacements, 4 forestry complaints, 2 removed, 3 trimmed. I'm sure plenty of you have been calling in about the trees. It's a process. The tree complaints come in daily, so we're working to get those removed and trimmed and pruned and, service the request of the residents. I ask you to be patient with us and be fair, and I appreciate it. That's all I got.
Thank you. Trustee Abraham, you have any questions or comments?
I have a comment. One, I did call for you guys to come out and check the pipe because of the water. You guys were gonna do a pipe seam, and the employee was very polite, very informative, and, just took the time to explain everything as to what was going on, so, to identify if they had copper or lead. So, I thought that was very well done, so I hope all the residents have taken advantage of getting their pipes checked. The other thing, I do want to thank you guys for cleaning up west of 25th Avenue that goes around Cermak, the overpass, cleaning that all up. I'm sure the businesses in that area are probably happy as well, but just to walk it, it's very nice. So again, thanks to your team again for doing a great job.
Thank you.
That's it for my comments.
Thank you, Trustee Chalmalave. Thank you, Trustee Senior.
No questions.
Thank you, Trustee Shelby.
No questions.
Thank you, Foreman Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Foreman. And next, we have the Administrative Department, Village Administrator Letisa Jones.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees, residents, and those in attendance. My report is on file with the mayor's office, also the clerk's office. Just a couple of highlights. All residents, vehicle stickers are on sale. You can come to Village Hall, or if you need to put them in the mail, you can do so. We will mail them back to you. For seniors, they are $10. For military, showing proof that you are military or that you have served in the military, they're free, 1 per person. For seniors, it's 2 per household. And then for residents of passenger vehicles, it is $25. All we ask is that you show proof that you are a Broadview resident, your driver's license, and your car must be registered in the Village of Broadview. Lastly, we have been tasked from the mayor's office in order to support us when it comes to mental health. We have a mental health committee here in the Village of Broadview where we cater to all of our employees. That means every department has a representative in order for us to know how it looks per department throughout the village so that we can make sure that everybody in the Village of Broadview is covered when we're talking about mental health. So we're starting as the first municipality to head this up, and where we want to expand our outreach to the community. Once we get this, we put our proposal into our mayor. Mayor, that concludes our report.
Thank you, Administrator Jones. Trustee Abraham, you have any questions?
No questions.
Trustee Chalmalave?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Thank you, Administrator.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have item 8, old business, none at this time. Item 9, new business. A motion to adopt a statement of intent to participate in the 2024 Cook County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Motion to approve.
I second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Abraham, seconded by Trustee Chalmalave. Madam President.
Thank you. This did not require a vote approval, but we wanted to bring it to the attention of the village of what this statement of intent is. So, Chief Bryan, you want to come and tell us what the 2024 Cook County Multi-Jurisdiction Hazard Mitigation Plan is?
Yes, ma'am. That is the cooperative agreement that we have with Cook County. Whenever we have a major flood or any type of major disasters, that they will ensure that they will work with our village.
Okay, thank you. So I just wanted people to know what this is and how we collaborate with our other local governments. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, next
Okay,
item.
thank you. Next item is B. A resolution of the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois, appointing Lakeisha Wimper to the Zoning Board of Appeals to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of Mathis Stegel for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Abraham, seconded by trustee Chalmalave. Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. So we had a resignation of one of the zoning board members, and we have to replace that because, as you heard with Commissioner Upshaw talking about all of the different things that come up in the village as it relates to building codes, special use, special licenses, and those types of things fall under the building department. And sometimes from time to time, it has to go to the zoning board for them to vet out the project to approve it before it comes to this board for final approval. So after talking with Ms. Lakeisha Wimper, being a participant on the zoning board, she's been a very active member in the Village of Broadview. Silent, she's very, very quiet, but she's very active and engaged. See her at a lot of our community events, and I know she has a passion for what takes place as it relates to economic development within the town. So I asked her, would she be willing to serve the remainder of this term for the zoning board, and she agreed, and she's here tonight, so I don't know if you want to say a few things, but Trustee Abraham, do you have any questions or comments? Her resume is on file.
No questions.
Trustee Chalmalave?
No question.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Senior? Okay, so Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call vote?
We sure can, Madam President. Trustee Abraham,
Yes.
trustee Chalmalave,
Yes.
trustee Senior,
Trustee Senior?
Yes.
trustee Shelby,
Yes.
trustees Armour and Miller are absent. Madam President, this carries 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, C.
Thank you.
A resolution of the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois, appointing Steve Taylor to the Zoning Board of Appeals to fill the vacancy created by the expiration of the term of office for Robert Abraham for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Abraham, seconded by trustee Chalmalave. Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. So Mr. Steve Taylor has been a longtime resident of Broadview, of the Village of Broadview. He actually used to be an employee at the Broadview Park District for a very long time. So he got married and moved back to the village and asked me how could he get back engaged. So we had a vacancy open once before, but he wasn't selected at that time. And so when this vacancy came about, I called him to see if he was still interested in holding the seat as for this particular position, because this is one of an expiration term of Robert Abraham. So he agreed, and so we need to fill these vacancies so that we have people serving to make sure that our economic development can continue to go in the direction that it's been going in so far. So, Steve, thank you for answering the call and still being willing to participate. And so that's Mr. Steve Taylor there. Is there anything you would like to say, Steve? Anything you would like to say? Amen.
Thank you.
Trustee Abraham, you have any questions or comments?
Questions.
Trustee Chalmalave?
No question.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
Roll call.
Yep.
Trustee Abraham,
Yes.
trustee Chalmalave,
Yes.
trustee Senior. Trustee Senior.
Wait a minute, I got turned up. Trustee Senior?
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustees Armour and Miller are absent. Madam President, this too carries 4-0.
Mr. Clerk, before we go to the next one, Lakeisha, can you please stand so the board can see who you are? And then
Thank
Steve, will you please stand so they can, so these are new members of the zoning board. And I will like to add, we've been very, very busy with zoning the last 2-3 years. It's been very active in the zoning board, so it's truly a commitment of public service. And when we look at when we need to make hard decisions, we count on that board to advise this board on what direction we should be going into as it relates to economic development or any zoning issue that may come up from time to time. So after the meeting, just get with Commissioner Upshaw and he'll give you a schedule so he can get you onboarded on what's taking place, so that, because I think it's some zoning board meetings that's got to happen within the next couple of weeks. So I appreciate your public service. Thank you. All right, Mr. Clerk, thank you.
All right, Madam President. Next is item D, a resolution awarding an agreement for the 2024 Beach Street Improvements Project to Chicagoland Paving Contractors after competitive bidding for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Shelby, seconded by Trustee Abraham. Madam President.
Thank you. Chris Baker from Hancock, will you tell us about this project, please?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
This is a construction contract with Chicagoland Paving. They were the low bidder on a project that will reconstruct Beach Street from Lexington to the southern dead end. I guess it's Harvard Street. It's a dead end now. The pavement will be reconstructed, new curb and gutter, and repairs to the sewer. The village applied for a Rebuild Illinois grant for this project back in 2020, and it's been a long process, but the construction is nearly fully funded with this grant. So in the low bid was Chicagoland Paving, $575,000. The engineer's estimate was like $623,708. So we got a good competitive price as well. They've recently worked in town last 2019, but they're a good contractor.
Thank you. Trustee Abraham, you have any questions or comments?
No, glad it's getting fixed.
Trustee Chalmalave?
No question.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
So I don't have any questions either, but when we talk about projects, sometimes when we're looking at street projects, and if we started this back in 2020, the costs have gone up so much. So I'm sure that's why we got the estimate that we did from the engineers, but the savings that we got by by this being the lowest bidder, we saved $48,708. So kudos to Director Ames and the Public Works Department and Hancock Engineering for making sure that we do our due diligence to save the village money, and we can continue to do our street projects and allocate that fund somewhere else. So thank you, Chris. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, we can, Madam President. Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chalmalave.
Yes.
Trustee Senior.
You turned it down.
Trustee Senior.
Trustee Senior?
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustees Armour and Miller are absent. Madam President, this carries 4-0. Thank you all. All right. Next is item 10, Village Clerk Report. Real briefly, I cannot reiterate enough how important it is to get out and vote. Suburban Cook County has made it so easy for suburban Cook County to vote, and there's no excuse. If you're not registered to vote and you're of age and have proper identification, you can still register to vote on voting day, and you can vote that day. I will personally be here at Village Hall for precincts 33 and 38 to ensure that you have no issues with proper identification. Everybody needs to make sure their voice is heard. These elections that may not seem important are very important. So you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your community and your families to get out and vote and let your voice be heard. Madam President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Next is item 11, Village President's Report. Mayor Katrina Thompson.
Thank you. So I'm going to reiterate what the clerk said about Election Day. Residents who are not registered to vote may register and cast a ballot on tomorrow at your local precinct. Those who wish to register on Election Day must present 2 qualifying forms of ID. Even though this is a primary, it's still very important that you all cast your votes because it's a number game. And when we show up in numbers and we cast a vote, that alerts that we're paying attention to who we want to serve us best. So just get out and vote. Polls open at 7 to 6 p.m. tomorrow.
Polls actually open at 6 a.m.
6 a.m. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. 6 a.m. The polls open to 7 p.m. The weather is going to be nice. So it should be no excuse why those that are registered to vote to get out and vote. I actually did a robocall tonight to make sure that our people in Broadview are voting. For the past 12 weeks, the department heads and I have participated in a leadership training called Dare to Lead with Dr. Brian Brown Leadership Principles. This includes daily practice focusing on actionable steps towards embodying vulnerability, trust, and value-based leadership. So for me, even though we have leadership training in each respective department, but what we don't train on is we don't train on human capital and what that looked like inside the departments. So each leader has went through this 12-week program to get leadership training on how to be vulnerable in the workplace and how to interact with not just our residents, our business stakeholders, but how to interact with us and in our department. So it was really, really good, and good results. I can already see a lot of the good results that's come out of the training. The Broadview Park District will host its annual Easter egg hunt on Saturday, March 23rd from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and that's going to be at Schroeder Park. And finally, after a 17-year legal battle, the fight is over. The strip club in Broadview has finally concluded. On February 26, 2024, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 7th District upheld a lower court ruling from 23 affirming Broadview's stance. Back in November 22, Broadview consented to an order issued by Federal District Court Judge Matthew Kinley. This order limited damages payable to Chicago Joe's Strip Club to $15,111 due to Broadview's refusal to grant a business license for operation within the village. The strip club owners had initially sought $150 million in damages. This outcome highlights the saying that perseverance pays off. A heartfelt thank you goes out to the residents and the village legal team, including Fenara Law and Delgado Law Group, for their unwavering dedication to the cause. When we say $150 million, our budget is not $150 million. They were fighting us for 17 years to bankrupt us. And the sad thing about it, people that sat on this board took money from them to do some indiscretionable things to this village, but we stayed the course. We stayed the course, and we continued to fight. We continued to fight with our tax dollars, and it wasn't a big win for just the Village of Broadview, but it was a big win for the people that touch borders with us, like Westchester. So we didn't fight just for Broadview. We fought for everybody that was in the Proviso Township to keep this out. This is a family-based community, and they was not wanted here. I remember my daughter, she was 2 years old when they first came, and we was outside this village hall picketing, no strip club in our town. And to see this happen today, the victory that we stayed the course, those that live here and continue to pay taxes, we stayed the course. That's why we say we are Broadview strong. So with that being said, I will call for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Shelby, seconded by Trustee Abraham, to adjourn this evening's meeting. I'll take a roll call. Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chamalave.
Yes.
Trustee Senior. She gone? Okay. Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustees Armour and Miller are absent. Madam President, this passes 3-0 to adjourn this evening's meeting at 8:19 p.m. Everyone have a great evening. God bless and good night.